Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to a new series that I want to do. Almost like a new podcast kind of thing, but I think it's just mainly going to be YouTube commentary stuff since I do want to do more content like that. And I figure why not just make it a review series talking about different rock and heavy metal albums that I really like. I do want to branch out to just random releases. But for the first few episodes, I think I'll talk about some new stuff that's come out. And I figure what better first album to talk about for an episode would be the newest Stained record that just came out today, as I'm recording, September 22nd, called Confessions of the Fallen. Now, the goal of these reviews is to kind of give some general information about the album as well as some general critiques and things like that, things that I enjoy, and then kind of go through every song and talk about them and things that I like and dislike about them, how a review normally is. So, let's just get right into it. So, Confessions of the Fallen is the eighth studio album by the American rock band Stained. As a genre, Stained are kind of typically labeled as like hard rock, post grunge, new metal, butt rock, even. Just things like that. They're a rock band. Or, I mean, they get pretty heavy sometimes, but I don't know if they're really metal. Maybe their first few releases, but definitely not this album. It is their eighth studio album, and the it is the follow-up to the self-titled album, obviously called Stained, which released all the way back in 2011. So it's been a long time, or should I say, it's been a while since Stained released any new music. But yeah, I mean, let's talk about this album, man. I enjoy it quite a bit. Um, let's talk about some general things. This album is pretty short, all things considered. I have Spotify pulled up right now. It's saying that it is 35 minutes and 27 seconds in total length. There's 10 songs. That's I'm not a huge fan of that length, but hey, the album is consistently pretty strong throughout. So, you know what? If it means that we get more bangers, I don't mind a shorter album. So, you know, there are two more songs that I have found. I've listened to them. They're pretty decent, but it doesn't seem like they're out in any official capacity as of right now. They're called, I think, Full of Emptiness and Take. So there have been leaks, things like that. I made sure not to listen to the leaks because I wanted to listen to the album the day it came out. But let's get right into these songs, shall we? So first up, we've got Lowest in Me, and I absolutely love this song. It is the first single that they released from this album, so it makes sense that it's the opening track. And I mean, it just hits you with that one, just that punch that some other Stained records like to open up with. Stained aren't really a band that opens their albums kind of soft, from what I understand. I mean, Break the Cycle opens with Open Your Eyes, which is a super heavy song. 14 Shades of Grey opens with Price to Play. Run Away is the opener on Chapter 5. Suffocates the first song off Dysfunction. So, I mean, Stained starts out their albums pretty hard and heavy, and I like that. I like Stained when they're at their heaviest and most like angsty. And the chorus of this song is just so unbelievably catchy. And I mean, that's really how all of these songs are, though, too, is that they are very catchy. And that's something that singer Aaron Lewis is really good at. Like, he's really good at creating catchy songs. And I mean, so are the rest of the band, to be fair. Because the riffing from Mike Mushock is great. Even if I do think his guitar tone, or at least the way his guitar is produced, sounds a little bit muddy in some of the lower notes, because he does tune down. I do believe he uses seven strings all throughout this album. So you can kind of tell that the production is a little bit more muddy on those lower notes, but whenever he's just playing clean, or if he's playing riffs that aren't as low tuned, it's fine. It sounds okay to me. But yeah, Lowest to Me, an absolute banger of a song. It's got a catchy chorus, a super heavy breakdown. Aaron screams on this song, which actually he screams on a good bit of this album, and his screams aren't too bad. It's never been his strongest suit. His clean vocals have always been the big thing about his voice, but you know, that's Yeah, let's move on. Was any of it real? Is the second song of the album, and I think it is real. To to be fair, I think it is. But I heard some talk about. I think it was Mike Mushock said in an interview that the band was experimenting with some more like electronic stuff on this album, and was any of it real is the first real like indicator of that. You can hear some synths, like when the guitars drop out, and it's pretty much just Aaron singing with some drums behind him. Um, it kind of reminds me of Epiphany from Break the Cycle, where it has that kind of like almost like electronic like beat to it, but obviously not really anything like Epiphany because the song isn't a ballad. It's got another banger chorus as always. Um, yeah, it doesn't sound like Korn's The Path of Totality, which I imagine some fans were probably worried about, but yep. In This Condition is the next song, and it is, again, another really solid song. This was the third single that they released from this album, and it's pretty good. Um, yeah, like I said, it's just another hard rock banger. And then up next is Here and Now, which is the first real like ballad on the album, and this is actually the most recent single that they released. They even made a music video for it. The music video is pretty good. I think it's talking about like dealing with family members that have like dementia or Alzheimer's or other mental disorders like that, and it's one to get you on the tug on the heartstrings a little bit. Forgive my rambling. I don't have a script or anything like that, so I'm just completely speaking from my mind here. But yeah, Here and Now, it's a pretty nice song. First real ballad on the album. It's my favorite ballad on the whole album, even though there's not that many. Um, Out of Time is the next song, and it's okay. It's kind of formulaic. I like it better on the second listen, but yeah, I don't know. The song still doesn't do a whole lot for me. But what does a whole lot for me is the next song, "Cycle of Hurting," the second single. I love this song. This is one of my favorites on the entire album. Definitely along with "Lowest in Me," of course. It's just has a super catchy chorus. Like I said, I actually really love the riff in the chorus. Like he plays with those Mike Mushock plays with those harmonics, and it sounds pretty interesting. Kind of reminds me of like riffs like "Open Your Eyes" from Break the Cycle, though not as intense as that because it is a chorus riff. It just has to go behind the vocals. And up next is "The Fray." Again, another pretty standard track, but it's got a good chorus. I say that about every song on the album, but it is true. Better Days is another ballad type track. It sounds to me more like an Aaron Lewis solo song than Stained, but I don't know. It just I don't know. It just feels kind of off. It's not as intense as the other songs on this album, and it's softer than Here and Now and some of the other Stained ballads that exist out there. So I don't know. To me, it feels more like an Aaron Lewis solo song, which is fine, but it's not really what I'm looking for. Hate Me Too is another heavy song, and it's pretty good. Obviously, I mean, mental health has been a big thing that Stain has talked about in a lot of their music. So a song like Hate Me Too is nothing out of the ordinary. And same with the final song, Confessions of the Fallen. I actually really like the riffs in this song. It's just yeah, the riffs are really good, and the only thing I don't really care for about it is that it does not sound like a final song. I think with the two bonus tracks, they could have really released a really awesome album, but it just feels a little cut short a little bit. It's still good though. I still like it. I still have a majority of this album in my liked songs on Spotify. But yeah, so far that's really all I have to say. The production on this album is quite good, even if it is a little bit muddy on some of the guitar notes, especially in the lower register. But that's really about it. As far as like a score that I would give this album, I would say maybe like a 7.5 out of 10, close to an 8. I don't know. And also, the way that I grade these albums is that some people probably go from a 0 and then just add points up based on their listening experience. I start at a 10 and then go down. So, in these reviews, if you see a lot of like really positive scores, that's kind of why. It's just like it starts out at a perfect 10, and then I take points off based on things that I don't like about an album. So yeah, that's just gonna be for the future, and that's really all I have to say. New Stained album is pretty good. It's definitely gonna be in my end of the year list, for sure. And that's all I have to say. The next album in the series I'm going to be talking about is, I believe, the newest Cannibal Corpse record, Chaos Horrific, because that also released today, and it is pretty good. So, yeah, that's about it. See ya.